Hi, we're back. Thanks for staying with us. This is MoneyTV. I'm Don Baillargeon, joined in studio now by our friend, Mr. Brian Altunian. He is the Chief Operating Officer of Platinum Studios, stock symbols PDOS. Brian, glad to have you back here in Los Angeles.
Thanks, Don.
Now, it was really fun last week. We had the director of the movie Dead of Night with you via satellite from New Orleans, one of the producers, and of course I'm blocking his name right now.
Gil Adler.
Gil Adler, yeah,
right,
two very distinguished people in the Hollywood community. It was great to have them on. And basically be behind the scenes of a Hollywood movie being shot.
Yeah, it was fun for us. We were actually shooting for about a week in a mansion, and so we were, through those seats right there in the middle. And I think the funny thing is, we're having grips walking back and forth, and noise in the background. We're like, this is still, wanted to let people see, really. Not only the vision that Kevin had set, for the movie, but also the guy who's executing on that vision, Gil Adler, with a great history, great track record in the industry.
Now we talked about this a moment during that interview, but I wanted to really elaborate on this with you. I mean, of course, your company, owns the rights and has, is licensing, thousands of comic book characters, and this is what's going on right now. Is that Hollywood has really become enamored with that. They're making live-action movies based on comic book characters. How pleasurable, how rewarding has it got to be for you to see your stuff being made into a full feature film?
It's interesting because I think like technology companies, I think like other companies that you have here on the show, it's like going from the licensing, from the licensing model into a real production model. And for us, that transition has been, it's taken us a little while to get there, but we've cross that threshold, and it is very, very exciting. And as you're saying, the live-action movies are based on comic books. What we're also starting to see is, while Iron Man 2 is in production right now, and so we're seeing the big blockbuster, superhero kinds of movies. We're also seeing in production right now Tintin by DreamWorks, which is another comic favorite, and Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, which is another underground comic favorite. So we're seeing and of course our Dead of Night, non-superhero-based comic book movies being made. Great stories, great characters, and we're introducing them to a broader audience.
Well, you just flashbacked me so dramatically when you mentioned Tintin. So my first question is, who's going to play the Thompson twins?
Yeah.
Used to read that comic when I was 7 years old. That's amazing.
Yeah, it goes way back. And that's the great thing about comic books, is that there's a long, long history in our society of comic books, not just here in the U.S., but around the world. And again, from our perspective, our material goes beyond just what's known here in the U.S., but has a broad European audience and a broad audience worldwide.
Well, you represent the glamour side, I guess, of the companies that we've been featuring here as of late here on MoneyTV. We've had a lot of companies involved in green technology. We've had a lot of companies involved in software and various ways to improve the world. But let's face it, the world is all about entertainment too, and that's what you're all about.
That's right. And even during times when, we've got tough economy, as we've talked about before, people look, they use the word escapism a lot, but people go to the movies more frequently, they watch television more, they play video games more, and we've seen the first quarter record numbers in box office and in television numbers and in video game sales. So for us, it's really the right time for us to be in the space.
Well, I think most people would agree. Even though a recession will begin 4 or 5 months before the general public feels it, I think everybody pretty much agrees that the starting gun of this current recession was pretty much Thanksgiving weekend of 2008, because that's when the traditional shopping season kicked in, and everybody was saying that was going to be way, way down as far as retail. But they sold $250 million worth of movie tickets on Thanksgiving weekend. So we've been saying on this show and in recent weeks, maybe this recession was not as bad as we were told it was.
Well, for us in the entertainment industry, we've had a couple of things that have played a role, and I think you're right. A lot of people go to the sort of the scare tactics of, oh, we're in a deep recession. We also had a Writers Guild strike last year and a pending SAG strike last year, and so those things combined with the doom of a recession definitely did have an impact in our industry. For us, for our company, it pushed a lot of things out of 08 into 09 and into 2010. So we've seen that reflected in our in our financials, but as you say, right now, I don't think it's as bad as it is. We were able to get financing on Dead of Night and move that project forward, a $20 million independently financed film. So we're one of the few that were able to actually go and secure that kind of financing. So for us, we're still seeing that we can move into, again, execution on this plan and start to see the fruits of that.
Real quickly, I know that Dead of Night is about a character named Dylan Dog, a huge in Europe,
Huge.
maybe not as well known here as the United States. Give us a little background on Dylan Dog and his adventures.
Yeah, it's been in print for about 25 years, and there's a huge following behind it. I mean, it's based out of Italy. The Italian publisher is a great man who's highly revered. And Dylan is a character he's a private investigator who's kind of reluctantly drawn into the world of the undead, and so he investigates the paranormal, the undead, zombies and vampires and werewolves. In Dead of Night, we're putting them all together. So he's involved in a sort of a turf war between the three factions. So kind of fascinating. We set it in New Orleans. He had retired from the world of the undead and that investigative component, and now is living in New Orleans, and again reluctantly dragged into this turf war. So.
And we've got a pretty well-known star playing the lead.
We do. Brandon Routh, who played Superman. Brandon's going to have a breakout year next year. He's also has a role in Scott Pilgrim. He was just in Zack and Miri Make a Porno. So he's actually starting to get quite a bit more awareness. People know who he is. Leading Superman was a huge movie, really great. And we have Taye Diggs. Yeah, we have Sam Huntington. We have the gal who's playing the lead, Anita Brame, very well known. She was in Journey to the Center of the Earth recently. So it was a really nice cast, all coming together. The dailies look fantastic.
Is there a target release date that everybody's looked at? It's probably a 2010 release date, I would assume.
It definitely will be released next year. We don't have a target date just yet. We are talking to a number of distributors here. We're delivering overseas at the end of this year. So the film will be done by the end of 2009.
Exciting. Platinum Studios, PDOS. Keep an eye on Brian. You're probably going to see him standing at the Oscars one day in the background. One of the 12 guys up there. We talked about that. Brian, always a pleasure having you here.
Thanks, Don.
Take care. Well, remember when oil was about $200 a barrel and basically controlled the global economy? Maybe now, not so much. We're going to talk about that in the Money Wrap radio program. For more information, go to moneywrap.com, moneywrap.com. And on health this week, we are going to talk about exercise being good for someone who's had a heart attack or suffered some heart disease. Find a TV station near you. Go to healththisweek.com. Call us right now, 888-259-4449 for free information in the mail, including information about Blink Logic and Platinum Studios. When you do call, be sure and ask to be added to the subscription list of our Money TV newsletter, 888-259-4449, or visit us online at moneytv.net. That's our program this week. Thanks so much for joining us. As always, we'll see you next week.